and if people have been compensated for the amount they needed for the time they have been destroyed, for the crops, for the land, for the homes that have been destroyed. And yes, as we speak right now, over 90% of the East African oil pipeline affected persons have been compensated. Now, this story is extracted from the New Vision that says over 200 people were physically impacted by the East African oil pipeline in Uganda during the relocation. Now, 601 graves were moved to new locations, as well as 5 shrines that have been relocated out of the 65, the 25 actually that were registered. Now, Fred Bazara, the East African Community Oil Pipeline Community Liaison Officer, said during a field tour on November 9, 2023, that the remaining percentage has not been compensated due to various challenges such as lack of national identity cards and bank accounts where this money needs to be delivered. Now, Bazara also said that over 100 landlords are still absent, and this has made it difficult for them to be compensated. They have to be compensated when they are on ground and sign the agreements. Only 8% of the affected persons by the project have not signed compensation agreements. Now, that means that yes, roughly 90% of them have already been compensated. Now, in Mubende district, Florence Nsubuga, whose husband has also already been compensated, says they have received a modern day home depending on the kind of home they were. This is a good upgrade to where they are now living, and they also say that they are given monthly food. Yes, they're given monthly food rations by the East African oil pipeline, and our life, according to them, their lives have been changed. So as we speak right now, there is no query, and as we get closer to the construction of the pipeline, which they didn't give us a clear date, but it's set to begin before the end of this year. That means either by the end of November this month, or maybe by the end of December next month. But as we speak, there is no query, and the people that have not been compensated, and if you've noticed, we've not had anyone come out and claim they have not been compensated. For those that don't have national identity cards that can identify them, don't have bank accounts where the money can be sent, or they are not in the country. Now, these are landlords that are not in the country and are not able to physically sign on the available agreements for them to be given their money.
Amazing stuff.
Yes, it's amazing. So there is no query. There is no query right now. We have so many queries. Like during the railway construction, we had queries of people that have not been compensated till date. We have queries of people that have not been compensated. Now, as the railway line was going through Chireka, Boyogere, we had queries of people that had not been compensated. Yet money was actually availed for the compensation of these people. But when it comes to the East African oil pipeline, money was put on ground, and yes, people were all compensated, and most of them were in fact given an upgrade to the kind of homes they were having that they were destroyed. They gave them modern homes, and they went further because most of them, the pipeline went through their farms and gardens, and so they were displaced, and most of them were left with no land. And as they resettle themselves, they continuously give them food until they are able to stand on their own.
I hope also the compensation is what befits them.
They would be complaining.
And it's what befits the value of the land and the property.
There's something in about Uganda.
Both, because a couple of years, because when you talk about the East African crude oil pipeline, which was signed in 2021 between Uganda, Tanzania, we saw China, we saw the French, which was, and the Uganda National Oil Pipeline, all of us were in this agreement. And we're talking about an oil deal which is going to generate something like, I'm talking 15 billion US dollars rather, which is bigger than Uganda's budget. That is very good news, right? Now, but the other time, normally, there are so many complaints concerning how the compensations were made, because compensations were made earlier, yet land keeps on appreciating. So they paid half and they had to complete. So you don't know whether by the time they complete, land had not accumulated and everything.
Now, that is the problem, that some Ugandans were simply making it hard for the people who are compensating them. Because if you sit down and value the land that you have, most of these people have been compensated according to the value of their land. Okay. That is why some of them have actually been given an upgrade, Chintu. So that the construction goes on in peace, they were given an upgrade. Which is not happening just when the issue of the crude pipeline is, but also in very many areas, like in road construction within Kampala. Into Omuntu, government eba erina time yegendo gamba nti mu mwezi probably next year wetwagala okutandika construction of the road, but then they give them their money this year ne babagamba tubasasudde mukole ki ettaka muliveeko, but then the government takes a bit of time to start construction. Now if the government starts construction next year, ono gwe bagamba okuvaako nga tavudde ku ttaka ng'agamba nedda kati mwampa last year kati saawa zino sente zikoze ki zeyongedde. Now those are issues which I think it's not really, kubanga baba kusasudde ne bakugamba vaako kati tukusasudde nga tetunnatandika tukuwa obudde okukola ki okwesortinga ate n'osigala ku ttaka n'olinda until they want to actually start construction of the road, and then you claim you want more, then you are the problem.
Okay, so constructions are kicking off in 2025.
No, as far as I'm concerned, they're supposed to be kicking off before the end of this year. Now that is for the construction of the pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the drilling.
Now of course we can't speak about the drilling before they even start the construction of the pipeline. That we shall see when the construction commences.
Okay. I thought everything is in. It is all set that
when it comes
drilling begins 2025 according to 2021 agreements, which are the tribal.
Which has been broken a billion times.
Exactly,
we all know
of course.
that.
And
it has been broken down a billion times.
So I want to see.
We've been on the table talking about this construction to commence multiple times, and it hasn't. So if it starts, we can now gauge around the time when we shall now officially start extraction of the oil. But so far, no, we can't say that.
So I hope everything is well with the members of parliament. Did they get a chance to look into these agreements?
None of them has complained.
Are you sure?
None of them has complained. By the time we were signing
maybe they
these
complained
contracts,
the other time.
When they were signing these contracts, we saw the president go to Her Excellency, the President of Tanzania, to sign these contracts. And these contracts, of course, I don't expect the members of parliament to look through them.
Okay, why? They're the legislators. I mean, the laws that are going to.
Since when did they start looking through contracts in Uganda? Batandika eriwa gye batunula. Olaba Eneya Vital Oil Energy. Yeah? Who has looked through it? Who knows? Who knows the contract that was signed? Who has seen through it? No one has seen through it.
So now who is signing?
Executives.
Where is the...
Just know that the executives
Where is the third arm of government? The parliament. Now, does this really mean that there's still a rift between the executive and the legislature? Because when you talk about the doctrine of separation of powers, I mean, the independence of each arm, but also the complementation of each arm. So I wonder where it leaves these. And anyway, so that's what's happening. But I'm telling you, something must be done.
Nothing is going to be done.
So
why should we cover it up? Nothing is going to be done.
And when it backlashes, then the taxpayer has to pay for everything.
The taxpayer is always the victim of circumstances in all this. It's never even the legislators that are the victims. It is us. It is us, the taxpayers, that are the victims of it. When you look at the issue of Vital Energies, Vital being the sole monopoly of importation of fuel into the country.
Which other players actually watered down, and they're like...
It doesn't matter whether they water it down, because I was seeing companies like Maskline come up and E3 Energy come up and sit with members of parliament on the committee of energy and discuss and give reasons as to why they cannot have such a juicy deal be given to just one company. And they're giving all the benefits that Uganda can have if some of them, like the Maskline, I was looking at Mr. Mugera from Maskline, talk about all the other benefits that can come with the Maskline being given an opportunity to work for Uganda. And I was also seeing E3 Energy come out and do the same thing. But it does not change the fact that as they scrabble for this deal of importation of fuel into the country, the contract, the agreement, we can call it, has already been signed between government and Vital Energies.
Has already been signed.
It has already been signed. And it has already been signed, and even members of parliament have not seen it. Now, this contract has been signed because, as far as I'm concerned, as far as we know,
they're going to go back to parliament where they need money, they need help. You know, there's something that happened to us where letting our army go to Congo without the consent of parliament.
Yeah.
When things were going on, they needed financial support. Again, they come back to parliament.
To be clear, Chintu, this, as we speak right now, the Minister for Energy, Ruth Nankabira, tabled this bill. Okujawo issues za Uganda okurelayinga ku Kenya for fuel importation into the country. But when that bill wadde tabanagisayininga ewa obuyinza bwonna to the Uganda National Oil Company. Now, the Uganda National Oil Company doesn't have the capability to do it on its own. So the Uganda National Oil Company went ahead and signed an agreement with Vital Energies. So that Vital Energies can now do the what?
Of the bill of the energy.
Now, the bill has not yet been signed. I think we all know that. It has not yet been signed. Because we saw, I think that was last week, we saw when Ruth Nakabira was in Tanzania speaking to the president of Tanzania, Her Excellency, on how they want to make them part of them. So that Uganda evamu banu bagundi obayise batya? Ba middlemen abave Kenya kyetubadde tukola ebbanga lino lyonna
naye kakati naye yatabuse
ne Kenya naye
kakati weko kalinamu musigaleyo temukozesa na pipeline yaffe na bikibiina
Kenya naye yatabuse naye nga ekituufu kiri nti tubadde tukozesa ba middlemen, and I would love the fact that Uganda National Oil Company, I was looking at company
tukozesa ba middlemen era babadde babakozesa bafunyeemu nnyo mu gavumenti bagaggawadde nnyo kati bamaze okugaggawala ennyo nga bafunye ekimalagamane kakati kintu malo kikozesa sura eri kati katufuna ebirala
twakatandika coming to the reality and actually tubadde tusasula a lot of money for the what? For the fuel, and this kibadde
kifuna a lot of money bano basajja ba government basinga kufuna a lot
anti katuna agamba basajja ba government that no one is going to tell us that it's this one and this one and this one is what? Who is benefiting? No one. So for us we can simply say babadde bafunamu, but even then
bakugambe
sibeetaaga tekigenda tuyamba
badde mayinti bagavumenti nkuwandiikire wano
nedda kintu tekigenda tuyamba kyekituufu newe tunagamba nti this and this and this are the people that have been benefiting, it's still not going to be of use to us. Me as when I'm looking into this tekirina kintu, when I look into this I'm looking at how we can get out of this, and as much as I love the idea of Uganda National Oil Company being in monopoly of this, but I don't love the idea of only Vital Energies and tuwulira kintu company eya Uganda National Oil Company sobola okubeera n'obuyinza naye si ku monopolizinga buli kimu kyonna, naye tukolenga ensi endala bwe zikola. Kati nga mu nsi Ghana balina Ghana National Oil Commission, balina Uganda National Oil Company. Zino government parastatals, they're all government parastatals. They oversee it. So baleka companies zino kwerunninga, but they check into them. Ne baba limitinga. Era ngo buyinza government yakola ki? Ebubawa negamba nti okay, kangambe Shell amafuta gayo gegano. Prices za Shell wezibanga za 15,000 zezina kubeera 500 cedis. That's an example I'm giving. 500 cedis, and you will find that all petrol stations of Shell within the country are at 500 cedis.
Bano tebakisobola.
No gamba nti okay, kyebakola, they also check on the quality of the oil. Kati gwe okusinziira ku muwendo ku quality y'amafuta go wengeri prices zo ezigenda okukola ki okutambula, naye ebyo ebimu ebintu nga Uganda National Oil Company byerina okubanga erina obusobozi okukola ki
gwe amagezi goba wasimabi naye bo baagala monopoly. Obuzibu obadde wakati okulwanagana wakati wa emmwanyi z'abantu ne ba players abalala nga government eyagala Pineti Sol to monopolize era owulira argument zalinga we cannot allow omuntu omu yaba monopolizing kutunda emmwanyi zaffe. Why don't you allow many players abantu bajje, let us compete fairly. Kakati kintu kyoba okola nti teekawo abantu ba competing, let people compete, because competition first of all is breeding excellence. Naye kakati bano bo kye baagala nti omuntu omu kyokka omuntu oyo bambi ate amaanyi g'atalina. Ate tulabyeko ne track record yaabwe bakwata ku bintu byonna bakwatako bifa. Bano
aba Vital
bano
you know, Vital ebadde ekola ne UNOC for quite a long time. I think in 2021 they've been doing some business. But what I wanted is I need other companies to be allowed on board. Companies nga Mascline, kubanga these are now the big boys in this market. Companies nga Mascline zirina obusobozi obuyingiza amafuta. Companies nga E3 Energies sibabo kana balala besigenda ku mentioninga, they have the capacity, so they should not monopolize it to just Vital being able to import in petroleum or fuel into the country. Baleke market ebere open n'abalala, naye they should just put policies eziba keeping in check.
Kasobere bawulidde ebigambo byo.
Well, kintu waliyo story ndala ebadde nsumbuwa omutwe. The rising number of street children. in Jinja district,
What's your next
in the Jinja city. For the time,
kati ovudde Kampala kati ogenze ku Jinja
omanyi lwaki nvudde so koleke kubanga Kampala mubadde ne ba street kids, but why mubadde ne ba street kids mulinga simanyi. But anyway, why it piqued my concern is Jinja city never had this big number of street kids for quite a long time. But the way the number of street kids has risen in Jinja city is overwhelming and questionable. And it has now begun to raise concern to everyone that is aware of how the status of the city when it comes to street kids has been. Well, I'm going to go through this story. It is a New Vision, and it says the increasing number of children living on the streets in Jinja city has caused worry among leaders and child rights activists. So leaders are particularly worried that the situation could get out of hand as the environment in which the children live exposes them to various antisocial behaviors, including involvement in crime, which is really true. So they say we do not want them on the streets because it makes them miss parental care and guidance. They also learn bad behavior, and many of them have turned into a menace in city dwellers. Now, I want to give you a survey of the number of street children right now. So the survey that was made by Support and Love via Education International, a non-government organization, revealed that there are at least 11,516 street children in Jinja, a surge from 3,943. That is an overwhelming surge from 3,000 street children to 11,516. So they're trying to do they're trying to do a survey to understand why these children are on the streets and where most of them come from. And this is what confused me utterly. 2% of these children claim to be refugees. Only 2% of the 11,000 claim to be refugees. Now, most of them, as far as the survey said, they realize that most of them baba mu holiday. And when the kids are in school, the number of street kids what? So when the kids are in holidays, the number of street kids rises. When they are back to school, the numbers what? Lowers. So they realize that Barnabas. Yeah. That is it. That's a trick. I thought so.
Bakomyewo bangi ku ssomero, bakomyewo bali mu holiday.
Mbanonya sente za kuddayo ku ssomero for the following holiday, for the following term.
There is a surge from 3,000 to 11,000. It's because the business is booming.
The business is booming.
There are people who are venturing. This is a lucrative business from people in government. They know these things. With all the money we released, at one point, Beyalinga Achali Minister Wabana, Muchala Chinji. I mean, there was money government release. Netulaba KCC energy neba yola, neba teka mu bus, baminga baba work, preemptive, attacks, and they get these guys off the streets. Before we know it, these guys are back.
Out of nowhere.
Where are they coming from?
Who even gives them transport to move from wherever they come from to these particular cities?
These are the youngsters from Karamoja, from northern Uganda. Why are they on streets? Why are kids on street? Where have we gone wrong? Why have we failed to get them off streets? To get them in East Africa, mu bibuga byabwe, genda Nairobi, genda Rwanda, genda Dodoma, ogende ne Bujumbura. Have they Kigali? Have they failed? Abana bali ku nguudo nga betwalaba bali Uganda. Ani alasomba abana story banamawulire bazikola ne tubalaba nga waliwo abasomba babatunda ne babaleeta eno ne bakuŋŋaanya ssente ne bagenda nga basaba batuweyo ka ssente. Before you know it, they're having a lot of money. So that's what is happening. So this is a lucrative business, and there are very many people gaining from it.
Well, that is what we had in the business stories. But for right now, it is about 8:30. We will take a short break, and then when we come back, the conversation callers.
Bethany TV for health. YoTV Super App presents the Black Friday Trolley Dash. Simply subscribe to any of the bundles. When you subscribe for a month, you have 20 chances in the draw. For a week subscription, you get 7 chances. And for a day, you get 1 chance. The winner will be getting 200,000 shillings worth of shopping at Mega Standard Supermarket throughout November. The Black Friday Trolley Dash, proudly brought to you by Mega Standard Supermarket, YoTV, and Bethany TV for Health. Introducing Medical Minds with Dr. Andabati.
And these tubes can be so delicate that sometimes they get damaged. Some people have gotten the damage because they have undergone some operations. So damage to the tube system is one of the big problems we also do see.
The groundbreaking show that takes you behind the scenes of the medical minds.
You will explore